Alright, is it on? Alright. So for this video, my entire plan is honestly just to kind of ramble. So I saw a YouTube short and I liked the idea, which was essentially someone's year in review, right? And I like the idea because I don't really think about the things that I sit down and do and try and what comes of them, where they go, if they turned out good or bad, why they turned out good or bad. Like in the moments I do, but then once they're either continuing to be done or completed or forgotten, I tend to just forget about them, right? So I just kind of brainstormed here for a little bit, and I can guarantee you there is so much that I missed. Um, Oh, speaking of which, I just thought of something now that I'm probably going to forget, which is my lawnmower. Anyway, maybe I'll remember to bring that back up later, but probably not. Um, so I think I'm going to start here, and I'm thinking with the bad. Now, most of this bad that has happened to me was quite literally within the past like month and a half, right? And I shouldn't necessarily say bad. Like a lot of it's bad, but some of it's kind of neutral, or it just took a lot of time or energy out of me, right? Um, which so just within the past like month and a half, I had my shower leak, which destroyed the like my kitchen roof or ceiling, which was made of drywall. It leaked onto it and just destroyed it. So I had to have someone come out, dry everything out, cut that down. That still, the roof hasn't been fixed, and honestly, the shower leak hasn't been fixed either. I am so bad about getting anything like that done. I am so abhorrent about it. You can call me lazy, you can call me stupid, selfish, whatever label you want to throw at me. Go for it. If that makes you feel better, then say it. But I'm just bad at it. I am really bad at calling the places that I need to call to get them looked at, fixed, whatever. I'm just awful. Essentially, I'll go until it literally has to be fixed. Like I do not get a choice in the matter, and typically by then it's way worse than it was when it started. That's just who and how I am. So that was first thing that went wrong. I then also had a mishap with my computer, where a buddy of mine and I were trying to essentially go and delete what was it? I'm gonna call them cached files, but that's not right. Essentially, go in and just delete files that have accrued over time. There's a word for it, and it's not coming to my brain, and it's kind of bothering me. But either way, we went to go delete excess files that shouldn't have been there, that just like software has accrued over time essentially, and we fucked up the code in command and deleted our entire C drives. So I lost a lot of stuff, and I haven't recovered it, right? So I lost a lot of this. Like I lost probably about a decade of writing material. Um, because, and whenever I say writing material, I don't mean like the story I was working on. I did lose the other story that I wrote last year, but I at least have that somewhere else that I can get it. I just lost all of the um I don't say it, the different versions of it that I had. So like I think that one ended up on like version 4. So the first 3 versions of it, which were essentially me rewriting it starting from scratch, right? If I knew I was going to be making a lot of big sweeping changes, I would just start a new version. That way I had the everything that I had down before and didn't lose it in case I needed inspiration or I needed an idea for something. I could go back and look at previous drafts and potentially find uh, some ideas that I had left on the chopping block, essentially, or on the cutting room floor. Better analogy there. So I lost all of those. Sadly, I also lost the previous versions to the thing that I'm currently working on, but the decade of stuff that I lost was just like random ideas that I had throughout all of the years. To where like if I had an idea for a civilization or a type of monster or a creature or some sort of person or god or something like that, I would just jot it down in like Microsoft Word, have it saved to my computer. That way, if I needed inspiration for something, I could just thumb through all of those documents and be like, oh, this is an idea I had. Could I make that fit here? Could I make it fit there? Could I maybe have this be a like something going on in the background that is influencing these things? And I just lost all of that. It's just gone. I know that there are recovery tools. I have used some of them to try to get it back, but everything's corrupted. And then all of the ways that I searched around online to uncorrupt shit was not working. So I have the corrupted files like with me. I just do not know how to fix that, right? So that's something that happened that really took the wind out of my sails. Thankfully, so like all of them, I'm gonna say like the character sheets that I had made up for the characters in my story, those are gone. But the story itself I still have because I had it saved to my phone. So it deleted it off my computer, but I had a copy on my phone, so I didn't lose it. And thankfully, it was the most updated and recent copy saved to my phone, so that's good. Um, but that's something that happened. Um, Let me see. With the holidays around, I don't know about anybody else, but holidays are just fucking exhausting for me. We hosted Christmas Eve for my family and Christmas for her family. So that was just exhausting. So Christmas Eve at our house, had to clean up, do all of that, get everything, together. And then and then we had a Christmas party at my father's house. Her Christmas party for her family was done a couple days after Christmas. So it was Christmas party into making sure the house was clean again, like it was cleaning to be ready for our Christmas party, go get everything fixed, and then go to my father's for that. So both of those were exhausting, and then having to re-clean the entire house again for her family to come. And I'll be honest, the house here, like 4 days later, is still a mess from that party because I don't have the will or the energy to go down and fix it. Here, what is today? Wednesday. Probably today or tomorrow morning, I will be forced to go clean all of that stuff because it'll be trash day. So I'll have to go clean it, even if I don't want to, so that I don't miss trash day for another week. Um, but so all of that stuff happened, which I'm not exactly complaining about. I'm not sitting here going, "Oh, it's the worst thing ever." Oh, and I hate it. It's just exhausting physically and mentally. Um, so there's that, and then also, on the 23rd, my check engine light came on, and I just said previously with like the shower fiasco, I'm really bad at getting that stuff figured out. So now there's just a lot of shit just constantly swirling around my head that I need to get done, but I am so. I, I don't want to say incapable of getting done, but I just struggle with gaining the willpower to make it happen. I don't know better words for it. Besides that, I struggle to actually make it fucking happen. And again, you can fling whatever words you want at me. They're probably true. Whatever makes you feel better. I just know that it doesn't work for me. Like, you can call me lazy. I call myself lazy. That doesn't fix the issue. It just makes me feel like shit. So, there's all that. That's a lot of the negative stuff currently going on. Oh, I mentioned my mower, which I have a riding mower that I got from my grandfather, but it is old and it was not maintained correctly. So I learned over the summer just how unmaintained it was. So it's not actually usable anymore unless I want to potentially make the engine explode. Um, because it's got a bunch of various issues that are essentially just running the engine way harder than it should be. Um, and that has potential to fuck up the engine, or that's what I was told. I don't remember all the specifics. It was just, don't use the damn thing, you'll make it die. So I stopped using the damn thing. So now I have to borrow my sister's push mower to mow the yard and all of that shit, and I should have also, again, I'm not good at fucking setting this shit up and doing that shit, so it's just been essentially a shitty lawn ornament. So that's a lot of the bad stuff. I did also partway through the year, I think it was, what's the fifth month? May? I think it was in May, I quit my job because it was making me feel like complete and utter trash, and I wanted to hang myself in their warehouse. And I'm not saying that as throwaway gag. I had a plan and a rope. I was on the verge of hanging myself to make a statement. One, to get myself out of that stressful situation, but two, to also potentially make them change for the rest of their workers. There is a plan. So I quit. So I did not act on that plan. So quit that job, took a couple months off, got another job. Can't say I like my new job anymore, but it is a new job. It is just another job specifically because I need money. I'd lose the house if I didn't work, so we're working. right? I think now that is all of the bad negative stuff, right? That is that part of my year in review. There's probably more that I have forgotten, but that's all the stuff that I could come up with right now. So I'll say now we can move on to like the other little projects that I've been working on, right? So I've started multiple YouTube channels this year. This is just one of them, right? And I went through and I totaled like how many videos I made, uh, how much. Essentially, I'm gonna say content worth in like in minutes, rounded up or down. Um, and then about how many hours I made, right? Um, so I'd started three channels. One was supposed to be with a buddy of mine. I was essentially just going to be the editor for his YouTube channel because he wanted to make car content while he was working on his cars and his friends' cars and stuff like that. And I was essentially just going to take his raw footage and edit it to make it watchable, right? To be something that he would want to put up. Um, that has gone nowhere. No videos. I have yet to receive any raw footage. I have yet it did nothing. We made the YouTube channel and that's where it died. So that's kind of sad. Honestly, I don't expect it to go anywhere to do anything with it. I kind of more than half expected that to be what happened. In fact, I even told him that that's what I expected. Because I've seen him start projects and want to do projects, and then they just fail before they even start. So that's sad, but all in all, kind of expected. So I think I'll move on to the other channel, the channel that I was super hopeful for and super happy that it has become what it has become. It is a channel for my cousin and I just to send videos back and forth every week. I think if you know anything about Hank and John Green, they do Vlogbrothers. Very similar concept, except for all of the videos are private. He very specifically wanted them to stay private so that he could talk about what he wanted to, essentially unfiltered, and have no worries of it coming back to bite him, right? No worries of anything happening. And with that, between the two of us, we've made 41 videos, which that's awesome to me, right? That's roughly, I'm going to say half the year because it should be like 112, quote unquote, if it was two a week every week. But I'm not complaining. I'm very happy with where it's at. I'm very happy with how it's going. It's serving the purpose that I intended for it to. So on that channel, 24 of the videos were mine, and accounted for. I made about 686 minutes of content, which is about 11 and a half hours of content, which that's neat. It was nice for me to go through and look and see just how much work I put into that, right? Just how much, like, looking at the numbers actually makes me realize, like, not fully, but it helps me understand just how much I did, right? That is 12 hours of my life that I put into a project, right? That should have and needed to be accounted for, right? And that was just my parts. I didn't go and total his I didn't total his videos or how long they lasted or, all of that, because in all honesty, I was just interested in myself here, right? It's my year in review. And then there's this channel. Now, this does not include this video. I didn't total it because I don't know how long this video is going to run, and it is currently the 31st of December, last day, right? It is currently 12:34 a.m. It just turned to this day, so I'm not even that worried about it, right? So this year, excluding this video, I've made 45 videos that have a total of, and this surprised me, that this channel actually had more, what you call it? I made more content for this channel than the other one, because the other one I've been consistent every single week since we started doing it. I have made a video, and they're typically between 20 minutes and an hour long. So I'm very, I don't want to say it, surprised that this one, even though it has twice as many videos, still had more. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it did have twice as many videos. That very easily explains it. But a lot of those videos are shorter too, where they're between 3 and 8 minutes. So I kind of didn't expect this channel to have more minutes of content essentially this year. And all of that works out to be about 12 and a half hours of content that I made for this channel, which to me that's neat. I didn't realize that it was that much. It didn't feel like that much. Um, and something that I did want to note is like, so my most viewed video was just like in the past couple weeks with 378 views, which is wild to me. Beyond my wildest speculation, right? I expected at most for my videos to be hitting like 50 views ever for any reason. But for some reason, this one went to the stratosphere and hit 400, which that's awesome. Uh, I'm hesitant to say I'm proud of that, but it was unexpected and slightly delightful, right? It was just like, wow, that happened. That's nice. Um, and if I was smart and had more energy and planned better, I should have and or could have probably rid that wave to, you know, help boost the channel. But fuck it, I'm running this how I want to run it, and if I run it into the ground, I run it into the ground because that's fine. Um, I will say I started other projects, like a bunch of other projects, right? I always start a bunch of projects. Of the ones that I could remember, they were also somewhat recent. Uh, I started two other little projects, or tried to start two other little projects with my other cousins. One of them being like not necessarily a clothing brand, but like doing something with clothes, trying to like essentially Frankenstein our own clothing to match our own aesthetics, right? I also kind of assumed that that wouldn't go anywhere, and it didn't. We talked about it the one day, and then I've brought it up two more times, and we talked about it. But that's where it lived and died, is with me bringing it up and trying to force it, and I'm not down to force things, right? If he's not interested, I'm not going to force him to be interested. I'm going to let him do his thing. And plus, this is something that he was interested in before I brought up trying to do a project with him. So if he wants to go out and do it on his own, by all means, he can go out and do it on his own. It's more about me not forcing myself somewhere that I'm not wanted, right? Um, that's what that's about. And I'm not going to be angry or upset if he goes off and does it on his own, and that becomes whatever it is. That's all on him. However, it is also like they're both younger by, so like I think one's younger by like 5 years and the other one's by like almost 10. Uh, Actually, I think over 10. So they're also just in stages of their life like not where I am. I'm ready to start hunkering down and working on some side projects to try to do or make something else with my life because I'm sick of my job. They're not there yet, right? The one's getting there, but I don't think he has the energy to go about trying to start like a side hustle to circumvent working at shitty jobs because he's only had one real job so far, right? So he still has hope, whereas I have no hope. um, and all of that, I don't blame him. So that was a clothing brand with the one. With the other one, it was going to be around music, right? Because he's very musically inclined. He likes making music. He actually is the singer of his band, of a band that him and a couple of his buddies came together to form. He's still in high school, and they actually went up and like sang during a little like Christmas event in their school that their school was hosting, which that to me whenever he told me blew my fucking mind. That shit was awesome to me. Like I'm all like never would I have expected for anyone in our family to go out and not just say that they want to do that, but to orchestrate and make it happen, right? He's the lead singer of that band, which I think is awesome, right? So he essentially whenever I heard that he was into music and then he liked music and then he was thinking of making a band, I threw the idea of, hey, if you need help writing, if you need help doing songs, or if you need someone to like give a proof listen to something that you guys are doing, give feedback, let me in, let me know. And he said, yeah, he could do that, and he was interested in having that. Same with like, I have my own interests in writing music, um, which I am still kind of doing here and there whenever I feel down to do it. It's typically if I'm feeling creative, but nothing is like drawing me in, I'll end up doing that. So essentially, for the most part, it was a hey, we could do this if you want. He hasn't like taken me up on the offer or been like, yeah, get in here so that we can work on this, and he's just doing it on his own, which is fine. I'm not mad at him. But for me and my part in that project, it has went nowhere, right? Which that's fine. If he's happy and he is enjoying what he's doing, hell yeah. I will be rooting from the sidelines and helping as much as I can and as much as he wants me to, right? But for my part in that project, like I said, it went nowhere, and as of right now, it will not be going anywhere unless something changes. Which kind of sad, but it is what it is. Hopefully someday I'll be able to figure that out. See if I can find something to do with those two because I want to do things with them. Because the first cousin I was talking about, him and I are still sending videos, but the second cousin I was talking about, like, him and I are both creative minded. We're both artists, right, in our own rights. Whereas I go with writing, he actually like draws and does sketches, and he is a graphic designer as his day job now, right? So like we're both artistically inclined, and I want to do something with him because I want to see him more. In all honesty, I want to be around him because he's just an awesome guy. I fucking love him to death, but I don't get to see or talk to him very much, so I want a reason to see and talk to him, right? Same with the other one. Now, mind you, he's still in high school. He's still young, so I want to be able to see and interact and do things with him more too. But obviously, he's still in school. He still needs to go to college if he chooses to learn how the workforce works, all this stuff. So I'm still probably a decade away from being able to actually do anything with him. But that's fine. Everything takes time. You know what I mean? So I'm not too pressed about that. The next thing on here is art. So, I'm so sad. I have stopped doing art entirely. Like, entirely. Part of it was because I was feeling kind of burnt out, and my own limitations made it so that, like, I could not get the art pieces done the way that I wanted and the way that I liked in a time frame to where I would still be interested in the damn things, right? Because, like, I know that it's just my own limitations, my own skill, my own lack of knowledge and being able to execute things. But, like, even if I threw, like, 2 weeks at an art piece and I was motivated the entire time, that motivation, that inspiration, that everything would eventually cease, and then I would not want to do it anymore. And then if I forced myself to do it, I would just get angry, right? I just get frustrated, so then I just stop doing it, right? Um, but whenever I accidentally wiped my computer, I wiped all of the work. It's all gone. Everything I was working on, everything I made, everything I completed, it is all gone. I have a huge issue with starting things over. To where there are games such as like Skyrim is one that to this day I cannot play because I lost a save file over a decade ago. I lost the save file and my brain is still like, no, no, we don't like this. We hate this. Starting over is not okay. So I am going to have a lot of trouble getting back into art if I ever get back into art because I lost everything. And I was working on something, like even my profile picture on Discord is a small snippet of something I was working on because I wanted to make it into a bigger story told through art, right? And it was very important to me because whenever I'm feeling at my lowest is whenever I would write about this character, that I would write about the things that he was going through, the way he interacted with the world, because it was essentially supposed to be me quite literally working through those emotions. And it was very important to me. It was very, I want to say sincere, but I've now lost the artwork that I spent probably over a dozen hours working on, plus the stories that I've written for that with the characters, the arcs, the everything. Now, mind you, nothing was in stone, and it wasn't supposed to be like this other thing that I'm working on to where it's supposed to be like super sophisticated and long-winded and drawn out and perfect. It was quite literally just supposed to be stories that I wrote off the cuff. That I wrote ad lib. There's a better word for it, but it's not coming to my brain right now. To where it's like whenever you essentially just use whatever comes to your mind in the moment that you're writing. Um, I don't remember that term and it's bothering me, but I'm going to try to just go past it. That was what those stories were going to be, right? It was supposed to be raw, unfiltered, not, how do I say it? Like, it wasn't supposed to be nice. It wasn't supposed to be clean. It wasn't supposed to be friendly or perfect. It was just supposed to be, again, me working through those feelings. And it, like, me even working on it did help, but I wanted to share it, with the world, because some of those are some very deep, dark feelings that don't get talked about. Like, we talk about depression, we talk about, like, there's talk about depression, talk about anxiety, there's talk about, being uncomfortable, there's talk about this or that, but all of those are kind of surface level because people don't tend to talk about the exact feelings, the exact moments, the exact everything, because it's very deeply uncomfortable. And I think that there are conversations that some people would like to not necessarily talk about, but would like to see, oh, someone else understands. Someone else sees what I see and feels what I feel. Even if not talking to me directly, it's nice to know that someone else understands these feelings of complete hopelessness, of complete and utter, I'm going to say dissonance. Just the feelings of, there's, people say about staring into the void and then it's staring back. What about whenever it doesn't stare back? What about whenever it's just you left alone with nothing and no one? Like, the void staring back is personifying it, making it be like, it's there. It sees you. It understands you. But what happens whenever you don't even have that? Whenever the only thing keeping you going is your own fear, is the fact that you just can't push yourself off the ledge. Whenever you call yourself a coward, whenever you brand yourself as not good enough, but also too scared to let it all go. Those are very deep seated feelings that I have that I think others would appreciate through art in that way, right? It's not going to be for everybody. It's not supposed to be for everybody. It's not supposed to be comfortable. It's not supposed to be happy. It is supposed to just simply be. And that's all I wanted. But I have now lost all of that. And you could say, oh, well, you can recreate it. You can make it again. And I still plan on it. But the issue is I have to be in a very bad state of mind in order to create those things. And I'm not perpetually sitting in those states of mind, right? Typically, it takes a lot of things piling up over a very long time to break down my mental barriers and walls to get me to that point. And I haven't been like that since I quit my last job for the most part. I started feeling it a little bit before I got my new job, but that's just because I was super stressed about having to get another job, going through the motions of finding and, applying to and doing shit like that, but knowing that I have to get a job even though I fucking hate it. And it makes me feel terrible just working because it just exhausts me all the time. I started feeling it a little bit then, but since I've had my job, I still hate it. I will not like any jobs. And I just know that about myself. There is no job that I will like for any reason. Because if I'm forced to do something, it will just make me tired. But all of that aside, it will take me a long while to remake everything that I had. Because, like, I have the characters, I have the arc, I still have that, I remember that. But the exact phrases and the exact wording and the exact scenes that I came up with while in those emotional states, I cannot come up with and have the same feelings, the same. There's no other way to put it besides like the same darkness around me. The words that are being said can't draw out the same emotions as they could while I'm in those states, right? Because while I'm in that really bad mental sphere, certain words and actions will resonate with me differently than they do now, right? So I can try to recreate it, but the exact wording, the exact everything about a scene was carefully crafted to make me feel a certain way while I was in that state, and that's what I'm after, and I can't remake that unless I'm in one of those moods, right? I'm sorry, I went on a very long tangent just describing all of that, but it's really important to me. And it's really frustrating and sad that I lost all of it. But c'est la vie. Life goes on, you know. I wasn't expecting to just talk in circles about that for so long. Um, my voice is getting hoarse. That's fun. I don't have anything to drink. Unfortunate. So down below that I have streaming. So I was streaming for a little bit. Uh, I do stream on and off, but like I never seem to stick with it. I can never seem to have a schedule or find something that I want to stream. Because most of the time, whenever I'm streaming, it's like Smite, and I have a love-hate relationship with that fucking game. I hate it so much, but I've put so much time into it that for the most part, it's like just the thing that I do, right? And it doesn't even like calm me down or make me feel good. It most of the time pisses me off, as most fucking MOBAs piss everyone off that plays them too much. So why I play it, I honestly don't know. I tend to pick it up for a while and then put it down for a while. Um, but that's most of the time like what I would stream if I was streaming. So it would kind of come and go as I was playing Smite, and now like I don't even really know what I want to do. I was kind of dabbling in before I got my new computer. Um, I was dabbling in trying to do like VTubing, which honestly seems kind of fun, but I can't get the models to behave the way I want. Right? Like I have the oh shit, what's it called? Is it VTech? I have like the little hand sync thing used for what you call it? Used for what's it called? Like VR gaming and shit. That like you put it on like your head or your chest or your desk or something like that. And it just I can't get it in a position to where it will constantly read my hands correctly, and half the time whenever I'm like using it, it'll like reverse my fucking hands like this on the model, and I still to this day, no matter how much research and how much fucking with it that I do, I cannot make it work. Like it'll be like at the shoulders, the model's arms will just reverse to where like the arms are crossed at the fucking shoulders, and then like the hands are backwards and shit, and it's like, what the fuck is going on here? Why are you doing this? No one fucking knows. No one tells me. All of the fixes that I look up and see just don't work. So that's something that I have to figure out with it. But it's less honestly about VTubing. It's more just getting all the software working because I have a bigger idea for it at some point. Where I want to essentially just use the VTubing software and models to essentially make stories with those VTubing models, right? To where like I want to be able to essentially like mocap suit myself onto these characters to then like green screen them and then put them into other worlds and stuff like that so that I can do storytelling that way, right? Because that I think is where my end goal is. That's where I want my end goal to be, is to be able to not just write things in a book. I honestly don't really like writing like that. But I think where I want it to go is to be able to spark note something out and then try to create something in like that 3D space with essentially VTuber models and shit like that. Because like I even got like voice mod, and I have that set up to run through Voicemeeter and then into OBS. So everything works the way I want. The issue is just getting the VTubing software. And like I bought and upgraded my computer specifically so that I could do all of that shit. So I could do all of that and then also do video editing to try to clean it up and make everything look as good as possible. But I'm running into issues with the VTubing software. Plus, I also need to get the actual fucking stories written, um, so that I can start working on all of that shit. Right? That's kind of where I'm at with that, with streaming, with all of that shit. I also this year, moving on a little bit, so I ended up looking into like game making, things like Game Maker, and shit, what's it? And like RPG Maker and stuff like that. Because again, I want to tell the stories, but I don't necessarily want them to just be in a book, right? Like I don't just want to write books. I want to make more engaging and interactive forms of media, right? Like I said, my end goal with the VTuber stuff is like I want to my true end goal is I want to be able to stream it all, right? I want to actually be able to have that mocap suit and the what you call it and the VTuber model, but I want the VTuber model to be like I want to go and make essentially a game for that character to play and then have them react to whatever's happening in that game, right? But like obviously the game's not going to be like an actual game. It's going to be kind of just like set pieces, right? To where they'll be going through whatever the story is, and then instead of just being like a 2D cutout in a what you call it, a 2D cutout in something like Renpai, in like a visual novel thing. Instead, I'd rather be streaming it to Twitch as they're playing it as the character, and then that be the viewing experience, and then like re-upload it to YouTube or something like that, and then potentially have certain characters in the future have some sort of like not future sight but like fourth wall sight maybe. This would be completely different side stories compared to like my main shit, but like be able to have them interact with chat in some way to where chat might be like voices in their head or might be some sort of like whispers in the wind to where like certain things that are said or done or maybe have things voted on like the character will interact with, right? That I think would be super neat, super engaging. Like I feel like that would be a lot of fucking fun, right? Like have their build this game out around them, but then also have like multiple choices in certain things. So like it is kind of like a choose your own adventure thing with these characters, right? But that's going to take so much time, so much effort, and I need to make the stories first, right? And then I would love to actually have those kind of like characters influence the actual like big overarching story that I have going on, right? Like, I don't necessarily just want to come up with the ideas on my own or decide on the ideas on my own. I want to include other people. That is like my big thing is I want to include other people in the shit that I'm doing. Because I think that makes the experience so much better. Um, so that's game making right now. It's nowhere. It's dead. All the files and stuff that I was working on also got deleted for anything that I was working on, like everything in Renpai, everything in RPG Maker, everything in Game Maker, all fucking gone. And next thing on here is Blender. Same thing as game making. I was dabbling in it. I was really excited about it. I was learning a lot, but holy fuck, Blender is hard. People make it look easy on the tutorials, and no matter what's going on, it's just there's so many steps, so many things to remember, so much shit everywhere. It's gonna take a lot of time to learn anything in Blender, but I did want to learn it, and I was playing around in it, and I still like the software. I think the software is super fucking neat. And it's something that I want to learn, but I played with for a little bit and then just kind of gave up. So that was Blender, and then I brought up VTubing earlier. The VTubing died just like streaming, but like I said, I did figured it mostly out. There are some bugs and some kinks that I have to still work on, but right now it's just on the back burner, uh, just so that I can more focus on the story writing. Um, yeah. So then, lastly, there's like my actual writing. Right. I know I've brought it up and I think that I have shown it like in some videos every now and again, but honestly, I'm like super wary about it cuz I'm so worried about people just like taking my ideas and then like patenting them or claiming copyright so that I lose my shit. I am so worried about that. So fucking worried about that cuz like I put my heart and soul into this shit, and if I lose something, it will devastate me and have catastrophic fucking results. Um for me just as a creative, because like I mentioned with my artwork, that's what would happen here. As if like someone took one of my characters and said this is mine and then sued me for copyright or something, even though I've had this character in the works for over 10 fucking years, right? Especially now that I don't have all of the backlogs of shit of me working on it previously, right? Of where things are mentioned or brought up, or the different renditions of it, so I can like bring that up and be like, no, I've been working on this fucker for 15 years, and these are all the different iterations and how I landed where I'm at. So suck my dick and fuck off. Especially now that I've lost all that shit, I'm way more wary too. But in general, so with my writing, so this year I've written just under 28,000 words, which is not much, I know. Go look at Stephen King. Go look at fucking Brandon Sanderson. Go look at whoever you want to. They probably write 2 million words a fucking a quarter, you know. But I'm not them. So for me, looking at 28,000 words, I'm sitting there going, that's a fucking lot. That is a lot. That is roughly twice the amount that I wrote last year. So to me, I'm looking at that going, that's pretty damn good. So for Microsoft Word and the what is it? What is it? Is it 11? Yeah. So in the characters being size 11, single space and shit like that, right around right around 64 word pages in length, right? And then so I talked to a publisher earlier this year. Was it this year? Maybe last year. At some point in time. And they said roughly the way that they measure novel pages is that there is about 275 words per novel page. So that works out to be about 102 pages written this year. Now, this is just a rough draft. This is my first iteration. Well, technically my third iteration, but I'm still working on the first draft. So to me, it's my first iteration of the novel where I'm just, and it wasn't even supposed to be a novel, but anyway, it's my first iteration where I'm just trying to get through the story, right? Where I'm trying to get the story written down, where I'm trying to get the entire everything written out so that I can fuck with it, right? There's no other way to put it besides just fuck with it. To where I'm getting my characters to go from point A to point B to point C to point D and to go through their arcs, right? Or to go through whatever changes that I think they need to go through or they will end up going through themselves. Because the way that I write, the way that I write is the story is character driven, right? I have a rough idea of where they start, where they end, but how they get from point to point to point is up to them, right? To me, it is the characters themselves. I'm not going to shove them into, oh, well, you have to go here, and then now they have to go here and get this item to go here. It's like if a character doesn't follow directions, if a character doesn't listen, they're not going to follow a 3-step plan. They're going to go do whatever the fuck that they want to do. Especially if you piss them off by trying to make them follow that plan, or belittle, demean them, something like that, they're going to go over there. They're going to say, fuck you, fuck all of you, I'm going over here. So, and then if them being over there derails the entire story until he can manage to get back to where he's supposed to be via whatever means, even if it is just plot convenience, he just popped up there because he doesn't know which direction's which, that works. But in general, that's how I'm running the story, right? And the story in and of itself has changed drastically, even in the 3 versions that I've written now, in the 3 essentially ideas. Like the original ending has changed probably 4 times now, right? Which I think is fine. Like, I don't have any qualms with that. But it's because as I've learned who these characters are, as I'm writing about them, learning what their priorities are, and how they're going to essentially change as people throughout it, the ending changes, right? It doesn't make sense for the original ending to happen for these characters because they're not the same characters anymore, right? So, and especially as I'm learning who they are and how they're going to progress through their arcs and who they're eventually going to end up, it doesn't make sense for that same ending. Such as, originally I was going to have other characters, like the entire reason for the short story was essentially to shoehorn 2 other characters from later on in the series, essentially, just so that I could show off essentially who they are, show their personalities, be like, okay, this is who these people are, and then people in retrospective go, oh, this short story had this person in it, so it fits this in the timeline, and then it could help people flesh out everything that's going on. But now it doesn't even make sense for them to show up at all in the story, so I've just kind of retconned it, right? They still might show up. I think that they might, but if they do, it's going to be because essentially word got out that these people are here, even though they were sent there to die. So now, essentially, those characters that were originally like the entire story was based like came into existence because of them. The only reason for them to be there is not necessarily to kill them, but just to see if it's true that they survived, right? Because very specifically, there's one character that uh, would get saved by like a higher up individual, right? And they would send these characters specifically to go get her, to go see if it is true that she is still alive, and to go save her. The others, who fucking cares about them? But that one's the important one, right? And whenever you look at her, you wouldn't even know that she is important because, in all honesty, she's not that important to the story or to anything like that. She's literally just a girl. She's literally just a girl that ended up weaseling her way into the heart of somebody that essentially didn't even know that they could form a bond with other people, right? And it was just because she's a super sweetheart that doesn't really see that this person is quote unquote a monster, right? Essentially, she just took up the same hobby as this person because she saw she was lonely. I know it is what you call it. What's the word? It's very tropey. It's very whatever, but it's literally she's just a girl. But she became important to this other person, which is why she became a target to another person, and she ended up where she's at. And well, that's the whole reason that those people would even be sent if they get sent, right? I still need to decide how some new characters essentially that like just came into the fray, because as I was writing, obviously I need other characters than just the main characters that I first came up with. Essentially, how do these characters react to the situation? How do they react to what's going on? And does it make sense for them to essentially send word up the chain about these people existing where they are, right? These people being where they're at. Does it make sense for them to go through and tell them? Um, as of right now, I think the answer is yes because of the people I have in place, and so I think that they probably will come and try to rescue this girl, but not in the same vein as others were thinking, right? I know I'm being very vague, not really explaining much of this because I just want to write the fucking story and release it, and then have people enjoy it without me fucking ruining the everything about it, right? Um, sorry, I went on a tangent. We're already at 47 fucking minutes. So getting back to this, so wrote the 102, novel pages or like the 102 novel pages. Um, over this year, I think I have made more, but the ones relevant to the stories that I'm telling right now, I have made 22 characters, and they're just related to this story. Um, the five main characters to the novel that I'm currently working on, I made like full like character sheets for them, right? Like who they were, where they came from, why they act the way they are, the arc that they're going through, how they, like their personality, their traits, the way they see the world, the way they will interact with the world, the way they interact with each other, stuff like that. Went and made all of those for those five main characters, and I think that I started them for some of the other characters, like some of the side characters. I don't want to call them side characters because I do think that they kind of become main characters. How the story goes, um, but some for those other characters, but they've since been deleted because of the fucking wipe that happened here a little while ago. So they're all gone, and I'm not planning on making them again because I know I will not be able to make the same ones. And in all honesty, it was more or less just to get me started with the characters, if that makes sense. Essentially, knowing who they are, where they came from. That way, whenever I was writing, uh, who they were in the beginning and who they are like throughout, I had something to base it off of. But now I actually know who the characters are, right? Because 102 pages, I just know who they are now, right? So I don't have as much need for them anymore. And honestly, the main purpose of me making them in general was in case I did get help with this, right? In case someone showed interest and wanted to help me with it, whether it be doing art or something like that, or maybe help me, again, just work in general, I could give them those things and say, okay, these are these characters. Read this over and you can see who they are, where they come from, right? And why they act the way they do. Instead of me just trying to explain it to you, here is some reading material that you can go back to. And then also, potentially, if I were to start messing with the characters too much, they might be able to draw me back in and go, hey, this is where this character is coming from, remember? And then I might be able to change things, right? But no one's helping me anyway, so it doesn't matter that much. And if someone does show interest and want to start helping, I can make them again, right? It did take me a little while. It took me a lot of brainstorming, and for the most part, again, I know who the characters are. I know where they came from, right? So it's not like the first time where I was actually like creating the characters for the first time, right? Figuring out who they were and where they came from. Essentially, I can just kind of spark notes it now, right? To get the gist through because I know them and I'm not creating from scratch. Which there's a huge difference. There's a huge difference between essentially messing with something, like making it cater to what you need or what you want it to do versus creating it for the first time. Whew. Oh yeah, I can tell that it's 1 a.m. now. So I'm gonna say there's that with the character sheets. Sad that I made. Actually, I think I did end up making a couple more for other characters throughout the timeline, and they're gone now too. So, is what it is. It's unfortunate. I don't know if I'm going to do that again. Maybe I'll start it back up if I confirmed have a person helping me and they will need those references. But until then, probably not. Or I guess if I'm making a new character, it was super helpful in figuring out who each of those characters were before I started actually like writing them. Um, Besides that, also here within the past like 2 weeks, I started working on like an actual overall, like an overarching timeline for all of the events happening throughout like the stories that I want to be telling. Because like this thing that I'm currently working on is just one story. I've got an entire, yeah, I've got about 300-ish years of stories to tell within this timeline, right? And this story is quite literally just essentially taking part in a week, 2 weeks, something like that. Like this entire story is just encompassing about this much of it, right? It's supposed to be a little side story. It wasn't supposed to blow up and be as big as it is. The original concept for this story was it was supposed to take, essentially, it's supposed to be 3 days, right? Just 3 days. Just a short story about these people going through what they're going through, and it's supposed to be a 3 day short story. Now I don't even think it's going to be 2 weeks. It might only be a week. And I'm going to say it depends on how everything goes. Anyway, um, more than likely only 2 weeks, and it's this long, right? Now I've got an entire 300-year history that I'm working on. Um, with this timeline, that's what I'm going to be writing about for the rest of it, right? So essentially, I'm going to say essentially like 100-year gap. It's not going to be perfect. In fact, the first one might only encompass like 20 years, something like that, like the first part, because I don't know how many books it's going to be. That's why I'm calling them parts. Each part might be made up of multiple books. Um, but the first one's probably only going to measure like the first like 20 years, right? Uh, and then the second one might encapsulate an entire 100-year span, and then the third one may also encapsulate a whole 100-year span. But as of right now, because the original concepts for the books themselves, like it's just essentially going to be one character's story, right? One little adventure or thing that they go through. But the amount of time that that takes to complete might be a while, right? Like not like here physically in our reality or whatever, but like because like I know in part three there's going to be for sure a 10-year time gap. Like that is just happening. That is part of everything that's going on there. Um, so whenever it comes to the timeline, right now I've got the timeline for I'm going to say the ancient pantheon of the giants. I've got that worked out, or at least some of it worked out. The the how do I say it? The gods of the pantheon that I need to forward the story, essentially, for everything that's going on. The parts that I need right now, I have worked on and fleshed out, right? Um, and then for parts 1 and 2, I have the initial timeline worked out for those two. Um, I still need to make out the timeline for part 3, but in all honesty, I'm kind of afraid to do it because out of everything that I've worked on, so my entire story, everything that I have, the universe is all of it, right? All started with part 3, but part 3 is the one that I've put the least amount of time in now. Because essentially it started with part 3, and then I'm like, okay, where did this person come from? Where did this come from? Oh, it came from here and here, and then I started working on it, and then I'm all like, okay, there's enough here that I need to tell a full story to explain everything so it makes sense in part 3. And then as I was wrenching on like mentally part 2, I ended up in the same situation where I'm like, okay, I need to explain where this person comes from and why they are the way they are, and then I ended up with enough information going, I need another part. I need another book to explain all of that so that it all fucking makes sense. And most of it's for emotional payoff, right? Whenever something happens, I don't just want it to be, oh, well, the bad guy's gone. No, I want there to be a reason, right? I don't want you to be disconnected from the antagonist just because, oh, well, he was just the antagonist and I didn't understand him. No, that's not acceptable to me. I want you to resonate and understand who they are and why they're doing what they're doing whenever, so that way whenever they're gone, even if they were doing bad things, you still understand, right? You can sit there and reason with what they were doing. Um so that's all of that. So I've got the ancients that I need, parts 1 and 2, but also it's been so long since I've actually like dwelled and thought about part 3 that I'm kind of scared to try to put the timeline for it together. Because I'm also kind of afraid that it'll interfere with parts 1 and 2. Because the things that I need to happen in part 3, I might have to rearrange some of the other stuff going on in parts 1 and 2 whenever I start working on 3. So I'm just kind of scared of working on it in general, which is kind of why I haven't. That is time consuming. And also, something I realized is because it's taking part in 300 year time span, essentially, I need to worry about mortality rates. Like, not just mortality rates, but like, people will die within 300 years, right? People from part 1 will not survive to part 3, and I need to keep that in mind so that if people are returning to different places, different times, I need to know who is around during that time to know, okay, is there a chance this person would appear? Yes or no? No, because they're dead, or yes, because they're alive. Now, is there an actual chance that they would appear because of the relative positions that they're in, right? Because, like, if this person, is devolved to a commoner, let's say they're just running, like, a fish market now. Well, if this person comes into this town and is looking for food on their way out, there's a chance they'll run into them, right? That's just kind of stuff that I need to work on and keep track of. And so I went through and started making a list of just when all the characters were born, right? The dates that they were all born. And then I based that off of how old I wanted them to be whenever something important happens. Like whenever a main character is born, um, well, their parents, oh, well, I'd say they'd probably be, like 38 to get to the position that they're currently in, because it doesn't make sense for them to be in a high position of power in their early 20s, right? So 38 might get them there, or maybe even older. If it's a really high position of power, maybe they're in their 40s or 50s before they had their first child, right? But now, because they're in their 40s and 50s, now I have to sit here and go, okay, how much longer will they be around while this child is alive, right? Um, so that's something else that I just have to work on and figure out. And also, like, for the most part, most of the characters are going to be human in the stories. Humans aren't the only things around. There are other races and creatures, like I mentioned, the giants before. Um, but something that I can manipulate because, well, I'm the creator of everything here is how long humans last on average, right? So, like, if they don't die from, like, war or murder or disease or, breaking a bone or something, how old can they live to? And I'm thinking that the average is going to be set to 100, and the limit could be, like, 120. right? Because, like, here in our day and age, the average is 75, right? Most people, like, the average life expectancy for a male here in the U.S. is 75, 78 for women. Um, so I can kind of manipulate that, right? So that means that it's not unheard of for people to live to 120, but in order to counterbalance it, that means most people live to, like 90, right? And that'll counterbalance it to make the 100 year the average. Um, and I think that that'll help alleviate some of the issues with the fact that this entire thing is 300 years. Um, that way, some characters that I may need to recycle from part one can still be alive in part two, right? But that doesn't mean that they'll necessarily be alive for part three. Um, just more or less playing with it, right? Uh, but yeah, so there's that. Worked on that. Worked on the timeline. Still needs more work. Something else I was planning on doing that I think would be a really neat idea is I went and I bought post-it notes. We'll see if this actually happens. It probably won't because I know myself well enough. But once I get the timeline worked out, or once I get the initial timeline worked out, right, I'm going to probably decorate this back wall with post-it notes about all of the different things that are happening. That way I can visualize them and be like, okay, so this is what's happening, and then I've got them in different colors so that they can represent different things. Um, that way I can visualize and go, okay, this doesn't make sense here, this doesn't make sense here, and just kind of pick it apart, right? But I'm going to say I went off on a lot of tangents here. I need to get the fuck to bed. I'm tired. Also a little sick. But I'm going to wrap this up here. I'm going to say this is everything that I can remember for a year in review. I'll probably remember more stuff after I upload this and be like, damn, you fucking idiot. How did you forget that? How did you forget this? How did da 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 da? Anyway. But I'm just going to go ahead and say it's been an hour and 2 minutes now, so I will see you in the next video.